Welcome to Heart Snuggles. I brought one of my best mates from Australia on today. Her name is Bonnie.
So excited to be here. I'm Bonnie. Thanks for having me on, Lexi.
And tell us what you do.
I'm a chiropractor. I practice in Queensland in Australia, and I have grown up around chiropractic my whole life. So it's just something that I've always been around, always been involved in, and now I get to share that with other people too, which is really cool.
And for someone who might not be familiar with chiropractic, what does it do?
So what chiropractic traditionally is often known as that, we help bad backs and bad necks, that kind of thing. But really what chiropractic is about connecting your brain with the rest of your nervous system. So the messages that are sent between your brain and your body can go through clearly and effectively. So it's all to do with that. And as you know, your nervous system governs every single thing in your body. So really I care about helping people with stress, their emotions, pain, of course, but just how well your body can actually function.
And what do you think are the most beneficial parts of going to a chiropractor regularly?
Oh, big question. There are so many, I guess, so I've been in practice for about a year and a half now, like private practice, and was in uni clinics for about a year and a half before that also. One of the most common things that people say that they notice after they've kind of got through the pain stuff clearing up is like better sleep, better digestion, better energy. That's the top three things that people say. And actually it's like a happier mood. People leave and they're like, oh, am I meant to feel like drunk when I leave or like feel a bit lightheaded, tipsy? I'm like, that's just blood flow to your brain. That's okay. So that's what I like, to see people's personalities and they just come out of their shell, really.
So beautiful. And because, okay, side note, Bonnie and I work together at a chiropractic spot in Melbourne. And I just want to myth bust one of the things that people say is like, oh, you have to continue to go to the chiropractor once you start. Can you share why that's not true?
That's not true. It's people choose to. It's your body, your choice. You always get to choose what you want to do. The reason people continue to see a chiropractor is they feel the benefits of it. And people say to me all the time, I don't realize I could feel this good. I thought it was just old age or just normal. I didn't realize I could actually breathe, sleep, feel this good. So they choose to keep coming because they want to. We're not chaining them to the door, so.
So good. And we were talking a little bit about stress earlier. And so what are some ways that you help people deal with stress?
Stress is all around us. We often just think of stress as the emotional side of stress. So, literally emotional stress from work, kids, money, whatever. But there's actually so much more to it. There's, of course, your emotional triggers. There's also environmental stresses all around us. That's our toxins in our food, our cleaning products, our skin products, the air we're breathing. Physical stresses. Do we have a shitty setup at our desk at work? Are we doing weird movements over and over again that's causing stress in our body? So there's three things that cause it to start with, but then it's figuring out you personally, what are the things that are contributing to stress most in your life? Is it the physical side? Is it your job's putting all this stress on you? Is it the emotional stress? Is it, you're just saying yes to things you shouldn't be saying yes to? So what I like to do, first of all, obviously I'm a physical practitioner, so we like to eliminate physical stresses in your life. That's the easiest thing to do. Just checking how you're sitting in your car. Those things are easy. But the second one is mostly like the emotional triggers, figuring out what is adding stress into your life. How can we remove this? Because you're always, as soon as you have stress in your body, we go into a state of what's called fight or flight, which is the technical word for that is sympathetic dominance. When our body is in sympathetic dominance, it doesn't really care about anything except from keeping us alert and safe, essentially. Loads and loads and loads of things can get us into that state, any form of stress. And what happens, and it actually used to be a good thing when we were cavemen, that would happen to protect us. The only time we were stressed would be if we were in danger. A lion was chasing us, and so obviously our body had to go into this state. But now we haven't evolved to stop doing that whenever there's any stress. So shoulders round, ready to run, head drops forwards, ready to fight. I've said those the wrong way around, but You get the gist. And so now when we look at all these people's postures working on a computer, looking down at our phones, we're telling our brain we're stressed, we're in danger. So our body gets locked in this fight or flight. And that's why we see so many people now with chronic digestive issues, menstrual issues, like all of these things. It's just because we're always stressed and we're not doing enough to get out of that fight or flight state.
Such a huge problem. And I've learned too that stress is linked to like everything, like any problem. When your body's in a stressful state, it cannot heal. It literally can't heal.
Literally, it actually can't heal. It doesn't, you can only heal when you're in your parasympathetic state. So if you're not in that, then no, you're living in this sympathetic, which over time being in this changes how your brain produces your hormones. So your cortisol is raised, or then your thyroid hormones are affected, which then affects your adrenals, which then affects your digestive system. So it's really a knock-on effect, then causes leaky gut, which then causes, so yeah, stress is literally the number one thing, which is bad for all of our health and no one needs it, but we live in 2021, so it's pretty hard to avoid.
Yeah, it's crazy how much stress is around us. And I can just like see it too when I'm going around, like even in people's cars, like I see people so stressed out, like yelling at me sometimes, or just like, people are so angry always. And that's due to like, I can see the stress in them, or just even at the store, like you can see when someone's so stressed out, and immediately like, just like personality wise, when you're really stressed, you're not the best version of yourself at all.
So true. So true.
Yeah.
That's one of the things you see people change when they're not stressed anymore. Or I've got a really interesting case of this guy who had this chronic pain, like all these crazy health issues, saw every specialist under the sun, was seeing me, like was seeing everybody, and no one could figure out all his pain. And I told him, look, you're under an insane amount of stress. You've not had a holiday for years. You've not, or you need to probably leave your job. Like that's the only thing that's going to help. He did not like hearing that. He's dropped out of care, didn't hear from him for a long time. His wife still comes in and sees me, and she said, thank you so much. All of his pain is gone. He's left his job, and it was just stress that was causing everything. I was like, yep, sounds right. So, it happens all the time. And I bet that's the reality for so many people.
Yeah, especially here, like at least in Australia, they have a way better work-life balance. Like, even though people are still stressed there, but here, like people don't even they get 1 week of holiday and that's it. And they won't even take it. And so it's just so sad to see that.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
I know.
So, but if sometimes we can't change our job, or we can't get out of this stressful situation, we just need to find little tips to like help with that. One of my favorite things to get people to do is lay on what's called a posture pole. It's basically, I can show you, it's basically like a big long foam roller cut in half. You can do a similar thing by rolling up like a yoga mat or a big towel lengthways. You want it to support your sacrum and your head, and then you just like lay on it lengthwise with your arms out to the side. But when you're in that open up posture, that obviously opens up through your chest, your heart center, but it's physically impossible to be stressed when your body is in that position. So it switches on your parasympathetic state. So I recommend everybody at the end of their day, just take 10 to 20 minutes, however long you've got, even if it's just 5, lay on the floor, lay in that posture and just have a reset. Let your body get in that sympathetic state. Then you can let the day go.
How can you not get stressed in that pose?
So it's all, what we don't realize a lot of the time is our brain is constantly interpreting things around us. So when it's dropped forwards, it just innately thinks stress. When it's dropped backwards, it thinks, okay, ease. So being in that posture tells your brain you're not in danger because you're not protecting yourself.
Yes. And I love that. I'm so into, as you know, like you are too, is that your body is so wise and it's so smart and always speaking to you. And it's like, we so often don't listen to our body's wisdom. And it's so important to connect with our bodies and understand that our bodies are always giving us messages and always sending messages to our nervous system and our brain.
We are taking in so much more than we realize all the time with our senses, our hearing. Our nervous system, 5% is what we can feel. The other 95% is all the stuff we have no idea about. So there's always stuff going on, and we're just most of us are not very in tune with ourselves, so we can't pick up on these things that our body's trying to tell us.
And what are some ways you can help people get more in tune with their body?
Looking at your one thing, getting adjusted for sure, making sure there is no interference in your nervous system. Another thing is doing things like, I think, journaling, gratitude. I think that can really help just sift through the mess and the noise sometimes. Meditation, grounding, doing things, like walking barefoot, going on the beach, being in nature, cutting out processed food and chemicals. All that stuff just blocks the messages, receptors in your brain, dumbs us down. Case in point, my partner has recently transitioned over to a plant-based diet, and he went through a phase of eating quite bad, and he used to just not really notice how he felt in his body. And he said, since getting adjusted and eating, he's like, now I can feel if like something's upset my tummy a little bit, or I can feel a bit headachy if I've not drank enough water, and he said, I just never noticed any of these things before. So you think you're fine. You think, oh, I never feel sick though. I never feel this, because your body's not even picking up on it. It's just numb. So sometimes people call that, being like too sensitive. But I think I personally would rather my body tell me if I've eaten something that it's not responding well to,
Yeah, that's such a beautiful reminder that, like, you're right. I used to not be in tune with my body, and I used to think things were normal, like my bloating and my gassiness, or like, like having a stomach ache after everything I ate. Like, and it's so interesting that like foods and whatever you put in your body, and even the chemicals, like the products you use, are so impactful on your system.
Massively, there's just in so many things now that half the time we don't think twice. We're like, it wouldn't be in our products if it was bad for us, if it was safe for us. But we forget, companies are there to make a profit. Money is what makes the world go round. And there are so many more companies out there now that are more conscious of these things. They've done the research. We didn't know all this stuff maybe 20, 50 years ago. Now that we do know, you just have to choose to buy those products that maybe don't have those chemicals, toxins in, because they do exist. It's just about doing your homework and researching what kind of how you want to live, what level you want your health to be at. That's your choice too. Some people don't want to be that healthy. That's fine. That's their choice,
Yeah, it's always wild to me when people are so resistant, but everyone's on their own path.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's just where your values lie. And that's another thing to think, what are your values? For some people, their values are, playing with their family, being with their kids. Well, you can't do that if you're sick and unhealthy. So it ties into everything. Your stress ties into everything. Your health ties back to everything. It's not just about, are you going to live to 90 or not? It's so much more than that. Are you showing up and able to be the best version of yourself for your family, for your work, whatever, for yourself even?
Yeah, the quality of life is so amazing. Like when you start to see the improvements of your health and a richer quality, it's like you just want more.
Yeah, exactly.
And so what are some other tips you have for people that have really stressful jobs or lives, and what else could they do for themselves?
Another good thing that people can do is magnesium. There's like a nighttime magnesium supplement that you can get, and that really, really helps calm down your nervous system, your muscles, having like this Epsom salt baths even before bed, or taking this magnesium powder is just a really nice way to just reset and let your body unwind and relax. You have the best night's sleep having some of that. Things like lavender oil is really nice and calming. Diffusing one of those, say if you're in a really stressful work office or anything, having kind of those things going around. Taking time to just have 10 minutes to just go for a walk outside. Don't bring your phone. Don't listen to anything. There's some there are a million different things you can do for de-stressing, and a lot of them are very just personal to yourself. But I think the main ones are definitely see a holistic practitioner, figure out if there are things in your life that you can change or eliminate that will reduce your stress, whether that's a naturopath who's going to say this stopping your diet is not benefiting you, whether it's a chiro who's going to say this Chinese medicine, Reiki, we're all skilled in different areas and different people need different things. I definitely think that's the number one. Blue light, eliminating blue light from your screens. There's a program called F.Lux that is free. Anyone can download it on the laptop. Blue light sends a message to your brain that tells you you're in danger and that you're stressed. So if you're working on a computer or your phone all day, your brain always is going to think it's stressed. That can eliminate that. Or you can get those blue light glasses as well. That's a really nice idea. What do I do to de-stress? Sometimes it's okay to have a glass of wine after a big stressful day and just listen to music and eat a big bowl of pasta. Sleep in rather than going to the gym if you're feeling overwhelmed. There's so much pressure to just go and hit all these targets. And most of the time that pressure is coming from within. We put so much more pressure on ourselves to exceed more than other people do a lot of the time. And just giving yourself the time to rest and reset and being okay with that and not feeling like a failure because you've only worked out twice this week instead of 5 times. Being kind to yourself.
That's so big. And like, yeah, we were talking, like, I still get stressed all the time and I know all the tactics of how to get unstressed, but it's just so natural, like in this world we live in. And just like when you do notice that, if you are someone that has all the tools, just like coming back and like recentering and trying, like getting back to your peaceful state and having grace and compassion with that.
Exactly. Which is me this morning. Stressful things are going to happen. It's just letting yourself be okay with feeling stressed for a little bit. You might want to have a cry. You might want to just stay in bed and go on TikTok, whatever you need to do. That's okay. But then just reset and get out of it. I listened to a really interesting podcast recently by some neuroscientists, and they were talking about stress. And one of the really useful things they were saying was decluttering your brain and how important writing lists is. And that's something I've just always done and I recommend to people to do. If you've got a million things on your plate, just get a piece of paper or do it on your phone and just write all those things out.
Yeah, I think it's so good to get it out of your head and to, just that simple act is so powerful.
Yeah, literally, if it's just dishes, laundry, fold the laundry, just as you tick it off as you go, that's an accomplishment. That's an affirmation as well. It's a way of doing an affirmation. So I'm a big fan of lists. I think they can be a good de-stress.
I agree. Amazing. Thank you so much for this little mini episode, and we'll definitely have you back soon. How can people find you if they want to learn more?
I have an Instagram, drbonnie.chiro. That's probably the best way, where I share some different information.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, gorgeous.